It's your host, Virginia, and this is another episode of the Living on the Virg podcast. What a week. I am really keeping booked and busy, and it's all good things, so I'm going to take a minute to tell you about them. First, all the grandkids are back in school. I don't know about you guys, but it's back to school time over here, and I am so excited. My granddaughter started high school. I have a grandson starting 4th grade and another starting 3rd grade. And I'm so proud of them. I wish you guys all the very best as you enter this school year. And I love you very much. It was really nice to have a last minute sleepover with my grandson, Ethan. We had a really nice time. We talked about a lot of different things and had a couple of really good meals together. So that was a lot of fun. We also went to go see Bad Guys 2 and overdosed on popcorn with butter, which is always our favorite thing to do. So what else did we do? Oh, that's right. I was at the winery last weekend just for a little bit, a couple of glasses on Sunday afternoon. It was actually really pretty out there. And then last night, I went over to a girlfriend's house, and she and another girlfriend and myself all enjoyed some lovely wines. Thank you so much for sharing of your beautiful collection. And we also cooked schnitzel and spätzle, which was the box of food, or, the box that is our recipe for our food club that we belong to at Europa Winery. So that was a really fun evening. The food came out really nice. I was able to bring some home, and I just love that. We're going to do it again, and I thought it was a really good time. And what else? Oh, well, we did get a winner for our book contest at Dinosaur 1992. The book is on its way. And also our interview, my recent interview with Scott Nathan that just posted earlier this week, is really doing well. Go back and take a listen. Scott's a really interesting guy. He has a lot to say about a lot of things, a lot of really great stories. And so that's my week so far. And of course, watching all of these shows takes up a lot of time as well. And Orange County this week, thankfully, is giving me a little bit of a break. It was kind of a filler episode, and let's jump into it. Episode 5, the glam scenes are back. I like it. I think that they should get the chyron with their name under it when they're when they're filming the girls getting ready, and the glam squad girls are talking tea with them and so on and so forth. I think it's kind of fun. Gina has her housewarming party, and I heard that, I don't know if this is true, but allegedly they did not buy that house. They're renting it, and it's something like $8,000 a month. I don't even remember where I heard that. Sorry, I'm not giving you credit, podcaster. But so a housewarming party nonetheless, and they get to talking about Tamra and how she exposed that photo of Jennifer before her makeover. And then then Heather shows up and brought that. Did you guys notice that beautiful ice cream making machine that she brought as a housewarming gift? It was very lovely, a little over the top, but very Dubrow to always want to make a splash. And then Tamra arrives, and of course things get awkward. The girls break the tension. It was really weird. They're all sitting there on the couch, and it was like crickets. And then they break the tension, and Gina starts talking about coffee and jaws. And they kind of make fun of her accent, and that kind of, lightens the mood. And then Shannon arrives right on cue. And guess what? She tells Gina her house is nice. Aw, I guess it's better than cute. If you know, Shannon has historically been condescending when it comes to Gina's homes, and it was kind of an issue back a few seasons ago. So it's just kind of touches a little nerve with Gina, and it's time for lunch at the housewarming party. The food looked delicious. They served jambalaya And then they start to get kind of serious because Tamra's just not herself. And it comes out that the reason is because she's so upset about what's going on with her good friend Teddy, who we've discussed here is suffering through a cancer battle at the moment. And so then Heather is the one who ends up getting called out by Jenn, and she wants to know why she was willing to sit there and talk shit about her with Tamra with regards to the picture. And Tamra is inside looking out the windows, watching the conversation, and she says, I can't help but feel that they're talking about me. And Gina says, every room that you're not in is a room that they're talking about you. Well, then Gretchen confronts Tamra about owning her shit. And, it was kind of a gang up. Katie just sat there kind of relishing in the moment. And so before you know it, you could tell it wasn't gonna go anywhere. They were doing the back and forth and the 12 years ago and the 2 years ago. And I don't know how these two thought that they were going to be able to film together. They can't even get through this conversation. And at one point, Gretchen just abandons the group, calling Tamra delusional. Emily tells Gretchen if she just apologized for the Facebook comment that she made back in the day with regards to her daughter, that maybe Tamra would see an in to turn the page. And I kind of agree. I definitely think that Gretchen crossed the line when she contacted or when she responded, allegedly. Well, she did respond. That's not alleged. But when she responded to Tamra's daughter, when Tamra's daughter was kind of lashing out on social media back during her and her ex-husband's divorce. And so, it is what it is, but you cannot compare apples to oranges. And I think Gretchen's just kind of having trouble letting go. Well, for some reason, unknown to me, the scene ends with Emily offering to show us all her ass. And it's a nice ass, Emily. Thank you for sharing. Not real sure how it fit in there, but okay. And then Gina hands each of the girls a box and tells them to go outside. She goes upstairs to her window and starts tossing out beads, asks the girls to open their boxes, and they all have masquerades, and she announces that they're going to New Orleans. Well, no one seems to get it, but the camera pans to Tamra, and she is just in another world. She's kind of zoned out. She looks like she's trying to hold back tears. And think about it. She just told everybody what happened to Teddy in New Orleans just a few weeks before. And then this turn of events. Gina, your timing couldn't have been worse. And I'm sure this was already planned before. At least I hope it was. This wasn't like a move, was it, production? Anyway, the timing sucked. And Gina comes downstairs to find Tamra crying in the kitchen and tries to console her. And then, some of the other girls, Emily comes up and says, what are we crying about? What do I need to console you about? Meanwhile, across the room, Gretchen is saying that Tamra is melodramatic. So again, this thing bugs me. And thankfully, this is a short episode. It's kind of a filler one because I'm not loving the vibe of this. The scene that was really cute was the scene with Sophia and Tamra. And they're sitting there talking about Sophia's music career and how excited she is to have reached 1,000 listeners per month on her Spotify. Sophia, congratulations. Good for you. That is a big deal. And I know what it feels like to hit certain milestones that you want to hit with regards to something that you're trying to do. So kudos, girl. Then Gina tells us that she's concerned about leaving Luke. She feels like she's failing her child when he needs her. And, she says he's very dependent on her. And I get this. It's hard to know when it's okay. But, it is okay every now and then to leave your kids and live your life. At the end of the day, you're going to end up being better for them. You'll be a better parent if you take a little bit of time away. And that's not to say you run away and constantly leave your kids, but I could understand the feeling because all we moms struggle with that mom guilt, the balance. Well, Shannon does have a lot of plates. Gina goes over to Shannon's house and brings pizza. And they go through a big stack of kitchen plates to come up with two to enjoy their pizza on. And they start talking about the picture that Tamra brought out of Jeniffer and how they didn't think it was cool. And it's been bothering me now too. I mean, I think I said it at the beginning, but it's kind of just sitting with me as to why that was necessary. But Gina says, listen, it doesn't seem like someone who is trying to grow to pull out an unflattering picture of someone who has had a complete and total body transformation. They call it another kind of a photo. I'm not going to say that word. I think it's mean and rude and mean girlish. Well, then they start talking about their own lives. And Gina tells us that she's sad that they haven't been able to see Travis's son for over 3 weeks. And apparently his mom is no longer even sending him to school, allegedly. Well, she takes it incredibly seriously and she's really emotional. And she's honest with us, the audience, and, with Shannon about not knowing if she's going to be able to handle all the drama that comes with Travis's ex-wife for the rest of her life. Well, it's time for Gina's Operation Send These Bitches to New Orleans in first class. Apparently it had to happen in shifts. It's very difficult to move, 8 bougie bitches from Orange County to New Orleans in first class. And Gina pulled it off in 2 shifts. The French Quarter looks so fun. I've never been. I think it's one of the places I'd like to go. But honestly, I think there are other places ahead of it on the list. And it seems like one of those places that might be better in my mind than in reality. So for now, I am going to keep it in that altered state of amazingness. But the Four Seasons looks beautiful. I didn't take time to look into it today because we have a lot to cover, but it definitely looks like somewhere I would not mind spending the night if I was going to be in New Orleans. So they talk about, sleeping arrangements, and Bert and Emily and Gina, said they always share a room. That was hilarious, the reference that they made to themselves as Bert and Ernie. I love a welcome for a hotel. Like when you get there and there's a little special touch, whether it be, a bottle of wine or a cookie or even just a handwritten note and a little mint. I just think that it makes you feel special and happy and yay. I thought that was really cool. Well, the first group of girls aboard the ferry called the Creole Queen. And they can't identify the river they're on. It's the Mississippi River ladies. And it turns out that these ladies are not very geographically savvy, but to be honest with you, neither am I. So I'm not going to judge. In fact, I'm going to move right on along. Anybody who knows me knows I have no business judging or making any comments in that territory. So Emily says she's trying to get everybody to come together while Shannon does not want Jenn to turn on her. In other words, she doesn't want her to be friends with Tamra. Let's just call it what it is. And Gretchen seems to have much deeper issues with Tamra. And while Gina's plucking Emily's chin hairs, Shift 2 arrives to New Orleans, and Heather is greeted with champagne, nice touch of veuve. But then Tam shows up to tell Gina that she's been nervous about going out with everybody. And she is a little concerned about being with the group because she's just not in the best of headspaces. Well, Gina makes her feel better, and they all head out to Muriel's, where the table is set for the ghost Pierre's grand estate. So this is an old, castle that isn't thought to be inhabited by ghosts in the form of one of the estate owners from many, many years back. And they always have an empty table set for it. So good for us, I guess. But it looks like a cool thing to do. I know that there are a lot of like voodoo things in New Orleans, and I don't think I would do that, but I might do this. Shrimp and grits, pork chops, and turtle soup. Controversial turtle soup, I must add, because many people thought it was absolutely repulsive that Gina ordered the turtle soup. Well, Jenn tells us about the interaction between Ryan and Will. Apparently, these two never speak, but because Jenn was gone, Ryan and Will had to do the child exchange. And I guess Ryan confronted Will about, like, why aren't you paying your child support and so on and so forth. And Will said, I'm doing the best I can. I pay for car insurance. I'm trying to be on the note for college. And Emily interrupts and says the dude should pay child support. I agree. Whatever the court has ordered you to pay, they have done their investigating and they know what you're able to pay. And they know that you pay car insurance as well. So I call bullshit on that. And I actually agree, hold on, wait for it, with Katie. Yes, I do. Katie says she feels sorry for Ryan because he's holding the bag. Girl, I understand what you're saying. Can we just take a minute to shout out all the stepfathers? You know, they're a underappreciated breed. They step in and they do the job, and oftentimes they're given a hard time. They are resisted, and they are not held to the same esteem or level that a father is, when in fact, in my opinion, stepfathers are super fathers because they choose to do this voluntarily. I have many stepfathers in my life, and I thank you all so very much for the impact you have had on my life and the life of those that I love. So, all of the people in the world, Ghost Pierre decides he's going to drop an espresso martini on Heather Dubrow. And I don't mean just a little spill. The entire glass, ice and all over the floor and the back of Heather's God knows how many $1,000 dress. And apparently it was the ghost. I actually think Joe the waiter fumbled a little bit, but it's okay. It's more exciting and interesting to say it was Pierre the ghost. And then it is suggested that the girls speak, meaning Tamra and Gretchen, Tamra and Shannon. And Gina shuts down the situation and says, not tonight. Tonight, we're here to have fun. Thank goodness. This might be the first dinner that we get through on Orange County without incident. Let's see. They're still eating. Well, Gina loves the turtle soup, and most of the girls are repulsed at the notion. So let's talk about who would you date? I don't know where this conversation came from, but it kept things light and funny, and it was a little spicy, so I was there for it. It's better than hearing them yell at each other. And then Heather says very nonchalantly, well, Terry wears lifts. And she did that because she was trying to pull her foot out of her mouth, because the first question she asked was if someone would date someone shorter than them. And Emily took exception to that as they flashed to her wedding picture where Shane is on his tippy toes to kiss her. Oh, goodness. Anyway, in response to that, Heather tells us that Terry's been wearing imported lifts in his shoes for years. So, okay. And then things start to take a turn, but not the kind of turn you think that's going to take. They start discussing sexual positions. And it's actually quite a funny conversation. I'm not going to elaborate on it here. It's about 40 minutes into the episode. Go back and watch. It's kind of hilarious. And then we move on to the videos. I don't know why, but here we go. Shannon used the opportunity to take a shot at Katie. Somebody said something about videos, and Shannon says, yes, because we know you're always ready to film someone. Note to self, Look up where Emily got her dress. It's gorgeous. Can I pull it off? I don't know, but it's very pretty. Then we find out, due to pelvic floor surgery, Jenn's coochie doesn't work. Oh no. Katie, her response, her mouth must be tired. Rude. Gina is glad they're all having fun, and 24 hours later, it seems things go off the rails, you guys. And of course, that's when we get the cliffhanger until next week. And we know that this is the episode that Tamra walks off the show. And we heard about it when they were filming that she had quit the show. It was a big thing, whether she'd come back. Spoiler alert, she didn't quit the show. She comes back. And that's where we left off with that one. So I don't know what is going to happen, but I was listening to Teddy Mellencamp this morning on the Two T's podcast, and you can tell she knows what's going on and what's going to happen, but she's being really, really good about not spilling the tea, except to say that it's going to be really, really good. So even though Tamra's her best friend, she was very much willing to kind of call Tamra out. And even though she tried to defend her, she did say that it was wrong, for her to use that picture. So I want to move on from that and run right into 90 Day Fiancé's Hunt for Love, because we are nearing the end of the season and I'm going to get us all caught up. Next week is the final episode of the first season, and I'm really loving this episode. This show. I think they're onto something. I like the mishmash. I'll tell you what I don't like. I really wish, and I think I've said this before on this podcast, that they would have spent a little more time bringing some of the other non-TLC cast members to the forefront. Because there are some very intriguing and interesting looking people. Some of the comments and conversations that you can tell are happening in the background look like they might be worthy of a camera. And I don't know why TLC isn't using this as an opportunity to expand their casting roster. I mean, they can set this thing up to have 42 seasons if they did it right. Episode 10 kind of starts off as somewhat of a shit show. We have all of these love triangles and love squares, and I don't know what's going on, except I'm starting to get the idea that this isn't really a hunt for love. This is like a hunt for hookup. I don't know. How many hookups can you have? Maybe we need to rename the show, but we can tell that, Cole and Jenn are still struggling. Cole's never going to admit that he was the person who started the rumor. He keeps saying it was Tiffany. And then we wonder, they sit down, Jenn and Elise sit down and talk. And next thing you know, they decide that they're going to live happily ever after. So that ended really quickly. And we have RHOC and Chantel. They're chatting at the cenote. And we can see that they're exploring their chemistry. I mean, it might work. And just like that, Chantel became a seductress. So let's see. And then we have a conversation on the way back from the cenote between Rob and Jenn about nipples. Rob's in particular, and the fact that they look like pepperonis. I don't know. Jennifer's just not my type of person. Rob is enjoying his throuple energy, and in a picture moment, Usman is super, super awkward. Usman, he just needs to ask her out on a date already. I don't understand what the issue is. I think that the window may have closed on this one. And we need to give a shout out to Tim's outfit. As per usual, he does not disappoint. Well, the group heads out. But meanwhile, Cortney visits Colton in the hospital before his surgery, and she's conflicted. She tells us that she wants to be there for him, and she kind of feels a little bit guilty, and she doesn't want him to be alone. Sounds like you're catching feelings, Cortney. Well, swimsuit photo shoot on the beach, including Tim. It was kind of funny to watch, but oh well, I guess we just needed to take up some screen time. Then Tim starts to make a play for Mei. And I kind of thought that those two might end up working out together. I kind of spotted that might be a good mix because I just thought Mei is quirky and I thought she'd be cool with Tim. But then Rob asked Jenn out on a date. That was weird. It was awkward. It should have gone a lot more smoothly, but it didn't. And then Cortney and Usman go out on a date and they go ziplining. Well, Cortney doesn't like heights. She's not an adventurous person. And her idea of a date is like sitting out with a nice bottle of wine on the beach or laying out by the pool. I know this is not for her. So she is a pretty good trooper. She does go through the whole thing. And then they have this really weird, awkward conversation at the end of the last zip line up in the little hut that they have you in before you go off to the next one, whereby Usman professes his love to her. What? I don't understand what's going on. Eventually, he says, I'm jealous of the attention that you're giving to Colt. And Cortney does not stand for it. She basically tells him to back off, like you're coming on too strong and this is just too much for me right now. I'm kind of going through a lot with what's going on with Colt. You know what? Good for you. Way to say, I think I said Cole and I meant Colt, but way to show him your boundaries right off jump. I like Cortney more and more each of these episodes, and I did not think I was going to hear myself saying that. But Usman needs to learn how to ask just one question instead of asking 4 or 5 or 6 questions to get to, do you like me? Rob officially asked Jenn out on a date, and now everyone's worried about what's going to happen with Cole. Well, it's time for Rob's Got Game. Here's what he says. I don't know what's more beautiful, you or this fucking ocean. Gosh, that would just throw me over the top. And now Carlo and Elise. Okay, I didn't see that one coming. I thought Carlo was too smart for Elise, but stay tuned, folks. Apparently not. And the preview looks juicy. You don't have to wait because I'm going to tell you all about episode 11. And lucky for us, it was kind of a filler episode. Mei accepts Tim's invitation for a date. He finally asks her out. It was awkward as fuck, but she accepted. And then Jenn and Rob head out to their date on the jet skis, and they have a really, really good time. It looks organic, authentic. It looks like they're having a nice time. Their physical connection is obviously there. And they sit out on the sand after and essentially commit to be exclusive and seal it with a kiss. Rob says his eyes are open concerning Jenn because he saw what she did to Cole, what she did to Tim, and he just doesn't want to get hurt. Well, good looking out. You should sleep with one eye open when it comes to that girl. Colt and Cortney continue to get closer, and Cortney says she'd rather be with him than at the rather be with him at the hospital than to be on the resort with the rest of the people, including Usman. She doesn't say that, but that's what she's inferring. And then Chantel and RHOC are out talking, and I feel so sorry for her. I thought this girl was going to have broken through the barrier and come out strong on the other end. But no, Chantel makes it extremely awkward when she pulls out her phone and starts to ask her list of questions to RHOC. And RHOC is like, huh? You have a list? Yeah, no, not a good move, girlfriend. Well, Carlo and Elise have a chance encounter. They accidentally bumped pee-pees last night. Apparently too much alcohol, not enough discipline, whatever. Elise tells Carlo that he's going to have to tell Tiffany and let her down easily, and they agree that they're going to be exclusive. So episode 11 leaves us with Carlo approaching Tiffany in her room, asking to speak to her privately because she's out in her patio with Joe and Cortney, and sweating profusely. Now, I know it's hot there and I know it's humid in Mexico, but this is next level. It looks like definitely nervous sweat. So episode 11 left us on a big cliffhanger, but episode 12 gave and gave and gave. Tiffany is low-key devastated when at the beginning of episode 12, Carlo tells her that he hung out with Elise and hooked up with her the night before. He goes on to tell her that he woke up this morning and was happy about it. Tiffany is shocked, and you can tell that her mind is ticking. You can see her trying to formulate a response that is going to serve her. And she comes up with, you guys make a better couple and you're better suited to one another. She says that she was surprised that he was that impulsive. But in the ITM, she tells us that she's hurt and she's shocked, but she will not give Carlo the benefit of knowing that he affected her that way. I know people like this, and eventually it comes out in the wash. And sadly, I'm seeing Tiffany repeat decisions that she's made before that did not serve her. So I hope that she, by the end of the episode, course corrects. Meanwhile, voyeurs, Cortney and Joe are sitting inside on the other side of the sliding glass door, wondering what the hell is going on in the conversation outside. And while they're doing that, they're endeavoring upon a possible business venture to sell their feet pics together. So apparently Cortney makes money selling feet pics online, and she tells Joe that he has beautiful and sexy feet and he should do that too. In the ITM, she tells us that this is purely a side hustle. She's been walking around telling everybody who have nice feet that they should be doing feet pics online so that then she can skim commission off of the top. She has convinced all kinds of people that they should also sell their pics. She tells us she's working smarter and not harder, and I'm not mad at it. If they fall for it, good for you. Get your bag, girl. Carlo admits to Tiffany that he had told her that Elise was not the kind of girl you bring home. And then he goes on to say that he thought she was a slutty chick. Tiffany says, don't say that. But then she goes on to say, I'm a little concerned for you because I do not think you are the first person that Elise hooked up with yesterday. Insert, ew. Well, he course corrects and says he doesn't feel that way about Elise anymore and that he wants to be exclusive with Elise. So Tiffany encourages him to explore the connection. Carlo seems kind of onto her like we are. We know that this is kind of an act because she is hurt behind the scenes. And then Joe and Cortney, she goes to tell them, and they think she's masking her real feelings too, because this is some bombshell news, right? In other news, Mei and Tim are on their stargazing date, and Tim does not know how to use a telescope. Okay, I think this was a production thing because Tim's incredibly nervous about this date, and he tells us that he doesn't know what he's going to do. He's afraid he's going to say something wrong or do something wrong, and he likes her and he wants it to work out. And so I feel like production did this on purpose because, I mean, it's not easy to set a telescope, especially those high-tech ones that they had out there. And he's hilarious, but I'm starting to understand why he's single. He's kind of awkward in the beginning. He doesn't know what to do or what to say. But Mei is very sweet and kind of moves things along. And then eventually their conversation becomes quite natural, actually. So Mei announces that she's a spiritual coach. And he says, ooh, can you do something for me right now? So she reads his energy and shocks him by the things that she tells him. She, according to Tim, was pretty spot on. So either, like Tim says, she's a really good scammer or she's really good at what she does. And I'm just happy that these two enjoyed each other because Mei accepted a second date. Yay, Tim, go. It was so cute to see Tim like with life in him, happy, engaged, excited. We've all been watching Tim for years on our TV, and he gives Eeyore, and he wasn't giving Eeyore after this date. So I thought that was really cute. Carlo tells the guys that he's having second thoughts about his decision to move forward with Elise. No shit, Sherlock. Tiffany was the girl to choose from the beginning. But Tiffany tells the girls, no offense, Elise is a beautiful girl, but who wants to end up with that? And I know that Tiffany is hurt because Carlo hooked up with Elise, but it wasn't your best moment talking about another woman like that. Then Cortney goes to visit Colt, who greets her with roses and a candle, and such a cute little scene. They have this little impromptu date. Tiffany brings champagne, and before long, Colt, who tells us he just wants to be completely transparent and honest with Tiffany because he really likes her, discloses to Tiffany that he's homeless and jobless, but in good news, he does have a car. Well, obviously, Cortney is seeing red flags left and right and wondering why he is not doing the absolute best job at selling himself. Carlo then asks to talk to Tiffany. She tells us he begged and pleaded and wanted to talk to her, so she finally gave in. And he tells her that he has a lot of fear and that he likes her a lot and maybe that's why. And Tiffany flat out says that she did not deserve that. And Carlo tells her he wants another chance. Well, after a little bit of conversation, she says she won't allow him to disrespect her anymore or make her look like an idiot. But he's going to go talk to Elise and tell her it's over. They have another workshop, and it's, I guess, to discuss like bedroom habits. And we find out that after Rob's date with Jeniffer, she spent the night with Colt. As they're all sitting there, Elise starts to realize that she's being stonewalled by Carlo. And Jeniffer tells us that she saw Rob doing something that changed everything for her, even though she was considering leaving the resort with him. Well, somebody flipped a switch on Tiffany because she's telling all about everyone. She says that Jeniffer has slept with about 4 guys already. Neither here nor there with the exercise, as far as I'm concerned. It was just a green, if you are for this, red if you're not. And it was things like, would you be with someone who has been with someone of the same sex? Yes or no? I thought that it was all just a cover for the rest of the conversation that we heard, which was what the real takeaways were. Back with Colty and Cortney, Colty knows he's coming off kind of red flaggish, but he just said he's trying to be honest. So he invites her to come and sit on the bed with him, and he says, is it okay if and we all think he's going to ask if it's okay if he kisses her, but instead he asks if it okay if I sketch you. And she's like, huh? Well, he pulls out a pad and a pencil and he tells her that he's going to sketch her and proceeds to do so as they chat. And then in short order, he shows her the photo or the sketch, the drawing, if you will. And it's freaking hilarious. It looks like something that a 4-year-old did. And it's just enough to send Cortney over the edge. She is laughing so hard that she cries. And it's just a really cute scene. Now, that was a fine line he was treading. It could have gone really badly. But Colt tells us, I can't move. I can't walk. There's not much I can do. I'm shooting my shot. I'm doing the best I can. And you know what? You're winning. It worked. Well, we start to discuss Colt's recovery and what happens after they leave the resort. And he says, well, I have to stay here in Mexico at least 1 or 2 more weeks because I can't fly. And Cortney offers to stay back with him. And he's very touched by the gesture. You can just see it. He leans over and then he plants one on her. And it's a really sweet kiss. I think these two are so cute together. And I think when Colty is in love and his love is reciprocated, he's a pretty great guy. Of course, I've never been married to him, and he has not displayed the best of common sense in the past, but I think this relationship is adorable. Let's go back to Carlo and Elise. Carlo goes to talk to Elise, and of course she greets him in a black bikini and a robe. I don't know what she's thinking is going to happen, but things get ugly real quick because Carlo almost immediately tells her that he asked Tiffany back and that having sex with Elise was a mistake. And of course she starts bawling and she says, "Why did you give me this bear that was supposed to symbolize our relationship? And if it was such a mistake, why did you come back for a second night multiple times?" Dun, dun, dun. Oof. Well, she says Tiffany's a mean girl because Carlo didn't need to tell her all of the things that Tiffany was saying about her, but for some reason he just gets diarrhea of the mouth whenever it comes to breaking up with girls. And she says she's really, really hurt and to take his fucking bear and go get his girl. And that's how that episode or that scene ends. And it's pretty sad because to me, what the fuck are you doing, Carlo? Well, then we have this scene with Tim and Chantel that was really powerful. I don't really even feel it's fair to spend a lot of time on it here because I don't think I could do it justice for the seriousness of what it conveyed to us, the audience. But I guess to encapsulate it, Chantel confesses to Tim that she has been having strong thoughts and feelings for her friend Ashley, who told her before she came, we've talked about this before, that she had more than just feelings of friendship for Chantel, and then they kissed. And Chantel tells us that she's been confused ever since for a lot of reasons, and all of the reasons that most people who are queer are afraid to come out. She's afraid her family won't accept her. She's afraid her friends won't accept her. She's not sure that's what she really wants. She's afraid her church group won't accept her. She's afraid that it'll be the death of the Chantel as we know her, and she's not sure that she wants to do that. Tim handled this beautifully. He was kind, he was thoughtful, he was gentle, and he lifted her up right when he needed to. She went as far as to say she thought that she was afraid that her family might think she was a freak because she grew up in such a conservative Christian family where nobody is gay or bi, and she's scared. Listen, Tim, you did a beautiful job with this, and if you guys want to see a powerful scene of a woman dealing with her confusion with regards to her sexuality, then this is the one to watch because it certainly was a powerful scene. Chantel and Ashley video chat right after that. And Chantel, I guess, feels a weight of the world lifted off her shoulders and proceeds to tell Ashley that she wants to explore things with her when she leaves the resort. Well, Ashley obviously is very happy and she can't wait. So they get into a conversation and agree that they're going to go out on a date. We'll see how that goes. There's going to be a house party. And at the house party, first of all, it's so weird to me because they pretend that there's all of these little compartments to film so that everybody can't see. But it must be a pretty small space because in order for us not to see the cameras are positioned in such a way that we can see that everybody is like 3, 4, maybe 5 feet away. So everybody is hearing everything that is going on from one scene to the other as it's happening. And they're just pretending to stand around and talk in the background. I think that's a little bit weird. But the first scene is Cortney breaking up with Usman. And I was surprised. I guess Usman did like her more than at least I thought that he did. He cried. I don't know if that was for us, but he tells us that that's never happened to him before. I think that means he's never been broken up with before and that he's hurt. He was really in love with her. What? Okay. Who am I to tell you how you feel, you know? Elise arrives at the party and chats with Cortney about the fact that, you know, she just got broken up with. And then before long, Elise, I guess this girl really wants to have her moment. The dress she's wearing is really hot. And I think that that is this girl's MO, to get something to come from this, because she is trying just way too hard. So she walks over and she confronts Tiffany and asks her if they can talk. Well, the whole group decides they're going to witness this confrontation, which I thought was silly and mean. But everybody's standing around as things start to get heated. And then Tim from the Peanut Gallery calls Elise fake and says, you know, you pretended to be her friend. And then they kind of start to gang up. And you know I don't like a gang up. Well, thankfully, they decide to give the girls some space to finish the conversation on their own. And Elise uses the opportunity to make sure that Tiffany knows that she and Carlo hooked up more than once. Well, that was all Tiffany needed. And exit stage left she did. Carlo's across the room and he recognizes that these two talking was a big mistake and might not be good for him. And it's not good for Carlo when Tiffany confronts him. Just as we suspected, she just walks away when he confirms that what Elise said was true. And then Jenn confronts Mei. So that's what this is about. Apparently, she saw Mei coming out of Rob's room right after their date, and she's furious about it. So they call Rob over, and Jennifer kind of confronts him and says, what was that all about? And he backs up Mei's story that they were just playing dominoes and that they're just friends. And, you know, she wants to know if they hooked up or not. She kind of accused Mei of walking out of the room with, you know, ruffled, scrumpled hair and whatever. Things start to get heated between Rob and Colt because, you know, he decides that he's going to be the knight in shining armor again. And Rob is not backing down because he's pissed off that he got stonewalled by Jennifer. So his, you know, I guess testosterone is getting in the way. And it gets so heated that security has to step in. I don't know what is going to happen, but we have one more episode and the previews show us that they have to choose who they're going to continue on with after. So we'll see what happens. We have a lot of split decisions right now. I really, really kind of hope that Tiffany leaves alone because I don't think she's had enough time to build anything with anyone besides Carlo. She could have stuck with Rocky if she would have stuck with him back then. But I don't think she has any time to build anything with Rocky at this stage. And I urge her to step away from Carlo. That's really all I have to say about this. And honestly, that's really all there is to this episode of the Living on the Verge podcast. So we will be back a little bit later on this week and we will continue our summer series where we will be talking about Menorca, Mahon, Spain, and Cagliari, Sardinia, Italy. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Thanks for spending the time. I'll be here, living on the verge. Have a good day. Bye.